Welcome everybody to Eye of the Serpent Tarot for another pick a card. So today's pick a card, we're asking, where are you a trendsetter? Where and how are you a trendsetter? So someone who inspires others, leads out, thought leader, creative leader, strategic leader, influencer, whatever it might be. So that's what we're looking at today, and we're going to explore what kind of trends do you lead out on, or where are you a trendsetter? What is the impact on others and their impact on you, and what guidance does Spirit have for you to make that ability be part of your highest good? So to help with the choice of pile, I'm actually using a different tarot deck for each reading. So that energy may draw you, the images may draw you, but if you always go to pile two, go to pile two. Do whatever works for you. And if you want to go to more than one, by all means go to more than one, because there might be more than one key area or set of areas that you are actually a trendsetter. So for pile number one, we have the Ins Tarot, which is the tarot that kind of looks a bit like an Instagram input. And the card that we have is the Fool. For pile number two, we have the Runway Tarot, and the card is the Hanged Man. And for pile number three, we have Tarot on Canvas, and the card is the Empress. So when you know what reading or readings you want to go to, I have the timestamps in the description box below, and I'll see you there. Welcome, pile one, to your reading. Now, what I didn't say in the introduction, because it is actually part of, I guess, the structure of this reading, is that each of the tarots chosen for this kind of represent as an entry point an area or a way that you might be a trendsetter. So for this particular one with the Ins Tarot, it's around your communication, your online presence. You could be an influencer in some way, how you kind of communicate your ideas and so forth. That's the key area in which you become a trendsetter. So very air element type of energy, very technology potentially, very writing or speaking or public speaking or something like that. It could play out in any particular way. You may have a social media presence, and that might be why you were drawn to the Ins Tarot, actually, and that would be a pretty accurate thing to be drawn to. The other two tarot decks, and I'll tell you about it now because it does actually matter later in the reading. The Runway Tarot is more the fashion, the more self-presentation, things like how somebody dresses, how they do their hair, how they present themselves physically, the energy that they want to exude when they walk into a room, very sort of personal presence and style type of energy. And the third tarot deck, being the Tarot on Canvas, is the creative. So it's the painter, the singer, the writer, but also, potentially creative strategically, or creative to new social systems or new technology or whatever. So it's just different ways in which trend setting can be expressed. And what we're going to do a little bit later in the reading is that we're going to get an icon from each of those kind of areas as fleshing this out for you. So it's not just about the kind of, for you, social influence, communication thing, but how it could play out with those sort of qualities in other ways as well. So that's why I'm telling you about the different things. And if you felt drawn to one of the others, then you get a bit of an idea about what some of the emphasis would be. So given that, when you came to the Fool, I feel like you are a trendsetter very much in new ideas, new things. One of the things that you may find with this is that you're good at the new trends, the new ideas, the new things that are sort of moving, as I say, socially or communication-wise. Whether you necessarily see them all the way through, I'm not sure. So it'll be interesting to see the impact on you of other people and others by what you do, and also what the advice is, because it interests me. The Fool is going out into the new world, into new things, always trying the new, kind of innocent, and that connects with the Ace of Cups here. So things that trigger your heart energy, things that feel a bit like a holy grail, but not necessarily, I think, an energy. The Insta Tarot, the fact that you came to that, the Instagram, the very quick, things move quickly, things change a lot, trends change a lot. I think you're always ahead of the curve. I think you're very much dialed into whatever your audience and however you communicate with them, what matters to their heart. But I do wonder when we have the Two of Wands reversed and Strength reversed, whether the follow through isn't necessarily so much the thing as the new idea. Now, this isn't necessarily a bad thing. It could be that your role in an organisation, your role with your friends, your role online is to bring everything that is new and exciting and then move on to the next new and exciting thing. And that's what people look to you to do. The only area in which this could be an issue is if they look to you to do the whole journey, because I feel with this, that's not necessarily where your energy is balanced out. There's two things to the new, and then these are both not necessarily staying the course. There's also a thing here about choice. I feel as though you respond almost telepathically to the future. So what triggers the Ace of Cups for you and triggers the Fool energy is you feel things that are coming in that are almost inevitably going to come in. It's not so much that you choose here's three things that could be the case. I choose this one and I'm going to influence people to do it. It's more that you have your finger on the pulse and you see what's coming. So I think that's the Two of Wands reverse. And then the Strength reverse is that you're not necessarily therefore that committed to the things. And that's okay. None of this is a problem. Your whole thing may be to inspire, bring what's new and keep things moving and keep things alive in some way. But it just depends. If something is very close to your heart, you're going to have to think about that. You're going to have to think about there may be some choices you have to make at some point about how to take this forward or how much to commit to it. You may have to consider what are your strengths in keeping things going as opposed to just inspiring. But otherwise, you're very quick and the energy goes very quickly, and that's how it works for you. So let's use the tarot. Let's get a little bit more about your trend-setting energy. Then we're going to have a look, as I say, the impact on others and by others to this energy for you. And then we'll look at what guidance there is to kind of get the best out of this. So just a little bit more about this ultimate trend setting, ultimately what's trending on, like on social media, ultimately what's new and exciting sort of energy, as opposed to the long haul, lots of choices, let's see something through all the way. So a little bit more about that. We have the Queen of Pentacles upright, the Four of Cups, the Star reversed, the Knight of Swords, the Four of Swords, the Six of Cups. Okay, so I think one of the reasons that almost ambivalent energy was coming up is that your trend-setting energy, which is what we're looking at, takes you in one direction, but your heart takes you in another. So I think we're getting even more of an understanding now about why the Two of Wands is reversed, why the Ace of Cups is upright, and why strength becomes an issue. Because you really seem to be caught in choices. One choice here is around being committed to something and seeing it through, compared to if the emotional energy feels blocked or stuck, what you do. So one of the things that you are very good at is knowing when a trend has seen its time, knowing when a message is no longer working. Like, you'd be incredibly good at public relations, that kind of thing. Like, you would know when something was failing to connect and energize others. But there is a part of you that wants a deeper message. So you'd be like a person who's on Instagram or on YouTube or on X or something like that, and you would be keeping up with, and in fact ahead of the pack on the messaging, but there'd be a side of you that wants to write the novel or wants to create the thing that lasts. So that's one part of this energy. The second one is, because of that, because you're so quick and you're so future oriented, it can be a little bit hard for you to know what is the direction you want to go to. You can shift your direction. Now, that works extremely well for you. You will always stay on top of the trends. You will always be moving with where the zeitgeist is. But again, how do you commit to something like a longer term energy? And remembering with the Ace of Cups, there is a part of you that does want your heart to be in it, but things go so quickly and you go so quickly. And so there's also this energy of you need time where you're not trend setting and you're away from everything. That's where you start to work out what do you want to emotionally keep. And this is actually the Eight of Cups. I'm not sure whether I said the Six, the Eight of Cups, and what you move away from emotionally. It can also be that you have the emotional energy, but once the pitch of the communication is easing off, maybe the emotional energy goes. So you may be a little bit like adrenalized. And so, when something is exciting and new, it is exciting and new, but when it is now sort of more in the long haul, and it's not as visible and it's not as trending, it may be that a lot of the energy goes away from it. I think you're very telepathically connected with people. I think you're very connected to the collective unconscious. And I think that going with those waves and moving quickly has its benefits, does make you a trendsetter in thinking on ideas and energy and what people are excited by. But as I say, it does have a little bit of a challenge around moving forward, for the longer term. So let's see the impact on others and or by others. The Emperor, Judgment, wow. Three of Pentacles reversed. Five of Cups reversed. Six of Cups. Okay. I think that most of you, if you've come to the right reading, and I do suspect if you came to Inst Tarot, you were probably connecting through to things like social media, communication and everything. So this would fit. The main impact on you in terms of, or impact from others on what you do, where you put your focus, where you put your communication, is what is going to resonate with others, and particularly those that have power, money. So it's other influences, it's your boss potentially. It could be that you do a lot around stuff that has to do with politics and that kind of thing. But the ruling classes and those that are well established and those that tend to judge are a big impact on what you do and where you use your energy in your trend setting. As a result of that, the impact on that you have on others is kind of a bit dispassionate. It connects to some degree with the Six of Cups in what people wanted to do in the past, but it's a bit dispassionate about the past as well. So you can influence others by touching their heart around early dreams that they had, but it's also a little bit dispassionate. You're very much with the Three of Pentacles as a kind of like the balancing off around this. You are not necessarily a team player. You're not necessarily someone who wants to kind of bring a group along with you. You're very much your own person. And again, you're not looking necessarily in terms of trend setting to establish something long term, but you are, this would be very much like a social influencer. You are wanting to connect to the right people. You are wanting to be seen by the right people, and their response and what they're interested in would have a lot to do with what you would focus your trend setting ability on. And that may detach you again from the kind of emotional connection that would otherwise have been there. So like this does make you very effective. This is not meant as a criticism. It's just knowing that this is like would work best if this was something to do with a profession that you did, like communication, PR, social influencing. If it's more general in your life, it may make it hard for you to establish the emotional long-term relationships that you would want. So it's something to think about, like whether like you set trends which are more upwardly mobile but not connecting to the heart. So it's just an interesting message that it's giving, to you. So let's see what the advice is, therefore. Ten of Swords. Two of Swords reversed. Nine of Wands reversed. Wheel of Fortune. Okay. So basically it's saying that one of the things about being very aligned to the Wheel of Fortune, because you are, you'd also be someone who could probably read the stock market, all that kind of thing. You have a real sense of the zeitgeist. Your sense of timing is impeccable, particularly for new beginnings and so forth. One of the ways that works for you is it takes the drama out of decisions, because you're not really making decisions. As I say, you're seeing the future. It also is keeping you away from difficult people. And it's almost as though when you come up with the ideas, the new messages and so forth, you're not as directly connected to the people they would read what you were doing. If you're a PR person or something like that, you're a little bit separated out from whatever the messy business is with the people associated with this. You're more about the timing and about moving past the drama of even having to have a decision, really. It's like you're just seeing what's coming. You're just telling it like it is. You are very much I'm telling you like it is. You do understand power. You do understand timing and what's going on in the zeitgeist. But you're almost a little bit detached from people. Now, that doesn't mean you can't have, good friendships or lovers or whatever. This is much more about trend setting, and I think it's much more likely to be in your workplace. But there is something quite dispassionate about you. And if you aren't in that sort of work and you're finding this is happening in your personal life, like it's hard to commit to relationships, it's hard to you get difficult sort of pushback from people, it might be use this energy more professionally in some way. You are an incredibly good communicator. You are incredibly ahead of the curve. But this would work well in particular careers, but perhaps not as well if it's a broad brush thing for your personal life as well. And I think that's the thing to understand. Okay, so let's see what kind of examples there might be. So as I said, we're going to look at starting with the influencer, and that's what you're kind of the influencer communicator, something from the success oracles. And then the second one was the fashion oracles, and then the third one will be music oracles, representing the sort of creative side. So an icon that might be a bit similar to your sort of trend-setting energy, right in your sweet spot since you came to the Insta Tarot, and you do look like you could be an influencer, a PR person, a campaign manager, that kind of thing, is Takahashi Murakami. Now, I don't know a lot about him, so I'm just going to pause and see what it says in the book. Okay, so this connects very much with artistic stuff. He's an artist, but he is actually an artist that what he does is he elevates low art to high price tags, and it's very flashy and it's very of the moment. He does collaborate with emerging artists. So this does show you something. This is another thing. One of the ways that you could potentially connect your heart energy and so forth is to collaborate with others. You're not doing it as much as you could with that Three of Pentacles reverse, but it is potentially a way that could connect you, using him as an example. So helping others, the new trends, collaborating with them and doing that kind of thing gives you a little bit more of a stake in this moving forward. He has colorful appearances, in cosplay outfits and so forth. So he is he actually represents all three of the energies we're talking about. So the sort of influencer, he's an influencer and a successful person on the world stage and the art stage, but he is also very fashion forward and he is also creative. So you actually combine all of these things a lot, and like maybe that sort of like allows you to think of ways you could collaborate or see things through and which ones matter to you the most. So then let's have a look at the art or the fashion side of things. So a fashion icon. Bill Cunningham. What would the camera say? Actually, we should say what this was saying. So Takashi Murakami is saying, if a museum's cash register rings, answer it. So yeah, that's the immediacy. The difference between style and brand is copyright. So that may be a little bit of a sign. Maybe you move on a bit too quickly sometimes to claim what is yours. That's maybe something to think about. What is your copyright? What is your brand? And he says, earn your artistic license to change lanes. That way you can change lanes but protect yourself. So there could be some advice there. Bill Cunningham is obviously a photographer in the fashion world. What would the camera say? So this is like, what are you seeing? This is more about you seeing necessarily than showing off yourself. Beauty can be found on any street corner. So yeah, you're always on the lookout for it, and don't seek approval and you will find it. So yeah, there is something about your energy and moving forward that almost doesn't care, doesn't give any, what's about what people think. I mean, it's really only an issue if you want something long standing. But as I say, maybe that's more about protecting your particular creative input, because there's more of it than just seeing the signs and influencing on it. You are actually a creative person. Speaking of which, let's see what music icon is a bit like your energy. Wow, Patti Smith. So like you really do, you kind of go for what is really impactful as well. But there's a depth to Patti Smith. So that's the thing. I think that there is a depth to you because there was the Ace of Cups here, but it's something about the speed and the energy and how you're doing this. But like I feel like that either means that you don't fully own what you do, and so you're losing some opportunities, or there's a depth that you'd like to bring out, but the environment you're in doesn't necessarily provide for that. She said, Jesus died for somebody's sins, but not yours. So again, it's not like you're looking for validation from others. You're looking to be on the trend and to be excited. She said, learn to make peace with eternal dissatisfaction. And that's, again, like the Fool, if it's always going into the new, that's kind of the energy. And she says the most powerful form of rebellion is of the spirit. So connecting to your spirit. Again, connecting back to your holy grail. There was this antithesis right from the beginning in this for you, which is the potential long exploration with the holy grail, but then this sort of sense of, no, I just do it for the moment and move on to the next thing. So I do think that's sort of something to bear in mind. You're still very impactful. You still stand out. As I say, you've got all those energies, but there's sort of something about, are you getting as much as you could, which then gets back to your spirit. So let's see, with a couple of cards from the Magic and Mediums deck, what kind of spiritual energy, like beyond the sort of communication, the fashion and the creativity, what kind of spiritual trend energy would you have that could potentially bring this together for you? Astrology. So this is suggesting, look at your chart. You'll understand this. You've probably got a lot of air signs. Air and air and fire probably. But like, see what's happening with Saturn, that sees things through. See what's happening with Jupiter, like how can you expand things, that kind of energy. And focus. Yeah. Sometimes slow down enough to focus, because some things will matter more than others. Some things will have more heat than others. See how this person's focusing on one candle and feeling the heat? Feel for where that is, whether it's the way that others are responding to what you're doing, where's the heat, what can play out for longer, but also what is going to matter to you longer term. Okay, let's also get you some astrology. We were talking about astrology, so let's get you some. Let's see some astrology, a couple of planet pairings that turbocharge your trend-setting ability. So your trend-setting is seeing the trends way ahead of time, communicating them, getting people excited, and then moving on to the next thing. That's kind of it. But there's more that you could do with this, is what Spirit's saying. So we have Neptune and Pluto. Yeah, you see the big change. This is the thing. It's actually quite spiritual. It's going over to Patti Smith. But you do see things ahead of time. You're very psychic. Like, a lot of this is psychic ability, and you're seeing the big changes and the big trends and so forth. But this is why I think Spirit wants you to know there's more to it than just the latest trending viral post or whatever. There's more to you than this. So just be aware of that. And Venus and Neptune, yeah, like getting back to the heart. I think that it's saying there is something. I mean, like, if this was playing out in your personal life, I mean, like, there would be a risk of the latest flirtation is the one that you focus on, and then you're on to something else. But like, there's an ideal. I actually think some people might call you a cynic, Pawan, actually. But, I remember reading, somebody said a cynic is a disappointed idealist. And I kind of think that's the energy we're seeing here. So it's sort of the next thing and the next thing. But there is something, because you can embody all these things, there is something. And if you just slow down a little bit more and work out what do you want to focus on that has the heat, that has the love, you can have the best of both worlds, because you're still going to be way ahead of the trends in most things. But it allows you to bring the depth that I think your soul really craves. Okay, so to finish off, we're just going to get a little bit of spiritual advice from the Boho Spirit Oracle. So I'm going to ask you to think of a number between 1 and 5. Pause if you need to, because I'm just about to deal them out. And depending upon the number, that will be your synthesizing message around this. So for number 1, we have give or receive healing energy. For number 2, we have let your voice be heard. For number 3, we have be charming. For number 4, we have divine connection. And for number 5, we have dive deep within. Okay, so if you chose number 1, maybe there is something to heal. that is making it like, what makes you sort of look for the next big thing? Like there is something where you can productize, make a career out of that, do all those sort of things, and that's fine. But like, what healing do you need to receive, or what healing could you give to others that allows you to connect more deeply? Because there is a thing here of your genius in trend setting is also the thing that's sort of separating you out from your spirit and your heart. So like, what healing energy will help you? If I'll just move these up so that you can see it. I just realized looking at the screen that you can't see the wording. If you chose number 2, let your voice be heard. For some of you, you might see these trends and all that, and you're not actually getting it out into the world yet. So this is saying you can do that. You would be the sort of person who'd get followers, who'd get like trending topics, who'd get a YouTube channel that people would follow or whatever it was. There's sort of something here about you really do see the future and you really would be influential. Get your story out there. If you chose number 3, it says be charming. I think you're able to be very charming. But as I say, at the moment you look a bit detached. So it may be that in the act of being charming in how you present this information, in and of itself, it brings you closer to your heart. Otherwise, you are in a very volatile environment. Maybe, as I say, it could be like a campaign manager or something like that, or a PR person for a big Fortune 500 company or something, and you just need to be charming, and that's just part of it. And like, I think you'd be well aware of that if it was the case. If you chose number 4, divine connection, there is something, there is a holy grail. And it's saying that same ability to see the trends, to be exciting, to inspire others. Like if you connect that to the divine, you connect it to something that you will naturally and easily see through. It's not that it would be a struggle. And kind of similarly, if you chose number 5, dive deep within, you have to go within yourself as well as out surfing the zeitgeist, because you surf the zeitgeist better than anybody, but you also have to go deep within if you truly want to get the best benefit out of this, and that the trends that you set are ones that you yourself would want to follow. So I hope that resonates for you. I hope you enjoyed the reading. If so, please like the video and subscribe. If you care to share in the comments, I'd love to hear. Otherwise, I hope to see you in future readings. Welcome, pile 2, to your reading. So you came to the reading with the Runway Tarot. Now, something I didn't say in the introduction, but which is key, and I need to talk about now, is that I very carefully chose the 3 decks for this, so that the type of trend-setting energy would be inherent in the deck, and so help with the choice. And so if someone had chosen pile number 1 with the Inst Tarot, that's all about social influencing, social media, communication, writing, PR, that kind of thing. You chose the Runway Tarot, which is about self-presentation, fashion, makeup, hair, and not just that, but also your presentation. Hey, how do you present yourself physically? It could be even body art, it could be jewelry, it could be just the general impression you want to give when you walk in the room as you, as part of the trend, basically, in one form or another, whether it's in your career or whether it's just in your personal life. If you've chosen pile 3, that's tarot on canvas, so that's all about artistic trend setting. So it could be creativity and art in the traditional art sort of areas and professions. It may also be a creative person within an organization, a very strategic person, someone who creates a new technological program or something like that. So they are 3 different ways that we can be trendsetters. And you are going to get a taste of the other 2 as well as this, but because I am going to be looking at icons from the sort of social influence world, sort of success world, so to speak, the art, the fashion world like this, and then the sort of more creative and artistic world. So we will look at that later on. But for the moment, this does tell me that there's something about your self-presentation that is part of how you set trends. People, probably kind of little mini-me's, like to wear the sort of things you wear, pay a lot of attention to what you do. The sort of energy like the, Jennifer Aniston back in Friends, with her hairstyle that just really took off, that kind of thing. And this can be quite deep, as I say, because it could be the energy that you give off and the confidence that you give off that people want to learn from and be like. Now, what is interesting is that the Major Arcana card that came up for this is the Hanged Man, and that suggests to me that your trend setting comes from looking at things differently, presenting things differently, and interestingly enough, slowing things down enough to really be considered. So if I was thinking about this in like self-presentation, it would be the kind of the outfit in fashion or the hairstyle or the kind of energy that you kind of when you walk into a room where it just looks like, you kind of just threw this all on, but somehow it just all works. And it's like it looks considered, but it also looks natural. So there's sort of something in your trend-setting energy, something in you that looks both well thought out, but different and, yeah, different enough to feel spontaneous, but put together enough for people to kind of know, no, there's a lot of thought that went into looking this free, so to speak. So there's something in that energy. There's also potentially something very spiritual with the Hanged Man, and something of self-sacrifice. Like you, in fact, instead of being very flamboyant, I mean, some of you may do this with flamboyance that seems just casually done, but is very well thought out. Others of you, it may be that the way you present yourself is very simple. I'm jeans and t-shirt type of person and that's it. But like it's powerful. Whatever it is powerful. It makes people stop. It makes them think differently with the Hanged Man. Now, we also have some other energy here. It's not show. I don't actually think you're trying to be the center of attention. You just naturally are. So it's not like your aim really. Like it's just you like to express yourself in a variety of ways. As I say, it doesn't have to be your hairstyle or your clothes or something like that, though it may well be. But like the way you present yourself, you like to be open and honest, I think, with who you are. But you're not necessarily doing it to be the center of attention, but you just probably are naturally. Like when you walk in a room, people stop. That's like, that's kind of the energy of it. And I think you're kind of classic as well. Like with Five of Swords reverse, it's sort of like you don't let go, you don't give in, like that's for sure. Like you'd be the sort of person you probably wouldn't want to work in a workplace that had a uniform and you couldn't have anything that was personal. Or if you did, you'd work out a way to still make it yours. Like you can be a bit stubborn with it. And you may, once you found a trend or a look or something, you may stick with that for quite some time. And so that has an impact on people too. It's not a short-term thing. It's not like, oh, this week you're wearing, like beautiful sort of like snakeskin boots, so we're all going to wear snakeskin boots, and next week it's thongs. Like that's Australian. Australian has a shoe that's called a thong. I think elsewhere thongs mean something else, so it's probably not the best choice. Next week it might be, if it's not boots, it might be sandals or something like that. It's not like that. There's actually something that you stick. There's a core thing in the way that you present yourself that is you don't give in. That's very clearly yours. It's stubborn when it needs to be. But as I say, it's not showy in the sense of you must be like me, but it just naturally happens. I just think you naturally get quite a lot of mini-me's, particularly, as I say, in the way you present yourself. You also, there's a thing that actually makes me think about a story I read about Albert Einstein. Now, I don't know if this is true or whether it's apocryphal, but the story was that he had like 10 exactly identical suits and shirts in his wardrobe or whatever, because he just didn't want to have to like think about what he wore. He just wore the same thing every day because that was one thing he didn't want to have to think or make a choice about. So the irony might be is that some of you may have come to this and the last thing you think about is like, do I have to look a particular way or whatever? But the irony is that something about the way that you look and put yourself together still sets trends. So it like you're either very studied about it and you kind of stick to a style and like you don't have to make too many decisions within that, or it's very well thought out, but it doesn't appear to be. It appears to be casual. Like there's something in that space for you, but the way you present yourself is very arresting. It stops people in their tracks. They pay attention and they do want to emulate it in one form or another. So your trend is kind of in personal presentation in one form or another. So we're going to use tarot. We're going to look firstly a little bit more about how that plays out. Then we're going to look at the impact of others on you with your trend and on your trend setting on others. And then we're going to look at what advice there is. So just a little bit more about this. You are the trend that you're setting, the way that you look, the way that you appear, the way you present yourself, your energy. Wow, we got the blank card, okay. The Sun reversed. the Wheel of Fortune, the Emperor, the Nine of Cups, the Moonrest. So the first thing I want to say about this before anything else is if you are the sort of person who wanted to be in the fashion industry or the clothing industry or the makeup industry or anything, the beauty industry on any level, as a creator, a model, a designer, whatever, you would do extremely well because it's innate in you. And it could be like a dream come true for you. So if you've kind of felt like that's who you should really be, but you haven't really made the choice yet with the Two of Swords reversed there, don't give up on that dream. And you would become a star. You don't really know that yet. You haven't done it yet. You've maybe kind of prevaricated and thought, can I do it? But this is very strongly saying that. And it's saying that something in the liminal wants to come forward and help you with this. And some of your style and some of the impact that you have personally has to do with the kind of almost mysterious, magical energy that's coming from the liminal. People almost look at you and see you as something more. So it'd be a bit like, a very beautiful woman. People would look at a very beautiful woman and maybe think of Aphrodite as well as a beautiful woman, or an incredibly handsome man, it's almost like something from fiction, like Dorian Gray, maybe without the attic and the portrait in the attic. There's something kind of mysterious about you and something that hasn't yet fully come into being, different, new. But it's saying, this is very much saying anything where you want to leverage that as a career, be incredibly fortunate for you. So don't hide your light literally under a bushel. That's part of this. Now, beyond that, if you are working in that sort of thing, or if it is, that's not really what you want to do, it's just, you kind of do recognize that that's the case. It's saying that there's a part of you that tries to hide it, or there's a part of you that's almost a little bit embarrassed by it. But whatever this essence is of you, you may as well accept it because it just happens naturally. You just have a natural charisma. It's sort of saying start to see this as fortunate and helps you create the life that you want. That would be a good way of using this sort of energy. And if you start to see people who want to look like you, want to act like you, want to have your energy, understand this is all showing you that you can have the dream that you want rather than kind of being a little bit hidden with it. So go for it. Plus recognize that some of this may be that in doing that, you're inspiring others as well too. So it's not just that you would finally get to pursue your dream rather than feeling a little bit self-conscious about it. You help others as well. So let's see the impact of others. So it's both the impact of others on you with your trend setting and how you impact them with your trend setting. The Hermit, the Fool, Five of Wands, Nine of Swords reversed, King of Wands. Okay. Oh, good. Okay. Good. So what this is saying, the first two cards is the impact of others. And this is how the impact on others. And this is the impact on you of others. And this is a kind of like a mediating essence. You are a little bit internally conflicted between claiming who you are and your creative self, and how you deal with others. I think you just feel a bit uncomfortable, as I say, being the center of attention or whatever. So there is a little bit of a tension there. But what you can do, the impact you can have on others, is bring out it's almost as though what would happen, and what you're probably responding to is people copying you or wanting to be like you. But it's like if you start to really live into who you are and your self-expression, then it can shift to being more that you bring people out into their self-expression. So they might start off, if you're sort of someone who's a trendsetter with, the clothes that you wear, they might wear something similar, but then over time, they start to develop their own, what they start to pick up is the essence underneath that, which is the self-definition, and they start to do it themselves. So your trend setting could liberate others from being a bit hidden themselves and give them the courage to move forward rather than be also betwixt and between about it. if that occurred, you cease to worry so much about it and you start to live into your self-expression and enjoy it. Look, you're kind of like, I mean, somebody once, I saw an interview with a director or something who was talking about Brad Pitt and was saying that one of the things with Brad Pitt is he didn't always want to be the leading man and the good-looking man. He didn't want that to be the only thing. And that makes sense. I can understand why he would have felt that way. But equally, just sometimes be Brad Pitt, just like, not everybody's that sort of genetically blessed. So if you are, don't sort of feel you have to hide it away or that it's all you are, but it is something that you can use and it's very captivating. So then what's the guidance for you about using this trend-setting ability in self-expression? That's your real trend-setting power is in self-expression. The High Priestess, the World reversed, Five of Cups, the Devil. I kind of here keep them guessing with the High Priestess. So don't, do shift and change it a bit. Even if you have like an overarching style, do shift it and change it a bit. Keep a little bit hidden. Keep a little bit guessing. Always feel like a work in progress. And that may, that may be a bit of a challenge because, as I say, if you get a bit stuck and this is the way I look, think about how to mix that up and keep people guessing a bit. That allows you to move away and shift and change when something doesn't quite work. It allows you a few fashion hiccups, so to speak, and still you're a fashion icon if that's what you want to be. But just using it as an example. And the devil is in the details is what I heard there. Where you really, if you did have to sort of work somewhere that had a uniform or had a very strict sort of code about the way that you look, there's something, it's like, a particular piece of jewelry or, a handkerchief in a pocket or something. There's something about the devil is in the details around this for you as well in making it work for you. But I think it's inviting you to really, really explore this because you genuinely have this. That's where you set trends, but you're kind of uncomfortable with it and it's asking you not to be, to see this as your special source and a secret weapon in a way, but one that you can also help other people with so you don't have to kind of worry about. It's not shallow. I think you worry that it's a bit shallow, but it's not. Your self-expression is actually really powerful and it could be powerfully influential and inspiring for others. Okay, so let's have a look from those different perspectives. So we're going to start with the fashion world, with the fashion oracles, because that's the one you've done. Then we're going to have a look at kind of what would have been the kind of social influencer success, and then using the music oracles, we'll look at creative energy, just for some icons to give you some advice around using this. So the icon around the fashion industry for you, wow, is Jacqueline Kennedy. What a perfect icon for this, because she was like classic. It was all in the details. Really a trendsetter, and very beautiful, very striking sort of energy, but different, and also connected with power, but became something herself. So that's a perfect energy for this actually. She says, make manners your most important accessory. Yeah, it's about more than just how you look, but how you look and present yourself is very powerful. Pearls are always appropriate. The devil is in the details. The classics, can't go wrong with the classics. And be first lady of your own Camelot. Yeah, so that is about, being the king or the queen, bringing people out into who they could be. Yeah, she's perfect. That's a perfect example of what we're talking about here. So then what about, in terms of communication, success energy, social influence, what's a good icon and what's their advice for you? Oh, wow, Jeff Bezos. Okay. Well, if you want to be extremely rich, certainly, run a big empire. And again, the details of things, getting things out, the good communication, and doing something on a bigger stage, I would say. And this is probably this energy. There's a bigger stage you could be on if you allowed yourself to do it. The sun reverse, the moon reverse, the star reverse. So Jeff Bezos says a marketplace will find a place in the market. So your style will find its place, and it is part of what the market is. As I say, you are your trend-setting energy. He says convenience doesn't come easy. So the devil's in the details. It's it appears to happen easily, but you actually need, Well, you do put thought into it, whether you're kind of like owning that completely or not yet, I don't know. Moral obligations fulfilled by Amazon. So yeah, you do want it to be worth more. And I think it's saying it can be worth more. And then creatively, an icon from the music industry to look at creative energy. Bruce Springsteen. Yeah, so you want it like the uniform of the working class. You're kind of uncomfortable with the concept, even though you might become very wealthy and very powerful with your kind of charisma, energy and self-expression. You kind of still want to be of the people. This is the thing. And like, so looking to someone like that who creatively bridged that divide. He says there will always be magic even on the darkest nights. So even when you're feeling like the stars reversed, the sun's reversed, the moon's reversed, you can bring that out. The magic is there, even if you try and hide it. He says, may your mistakes like your sins be your own. So that's this. That's like once you actually keep people guessing and they see you as a work in progress, you can own the mistakes just as part of the journey and part of the self-expression. And he says, follow the river, but keep your eyes on the sea. Yeah, like think bigger. Think bigger, pile two. Okay, so let's get a couple of astrology. Oh, no, before that, let's get just a couple of spiritual energies that can also help you with your trend setting. So firstly, learn. Okay, so I think there may be, for some of you, you have this natural ability to do this, but there's also some learning, some sort of study that you can do, that kind of thing. Otherwise, pay attention to and look at other icons, other people who've done it and learn from them. And forgiveness. Okay. I think you give yourself a hard time, to be honest. I think you think that this is like shallow or sort of like it's too material or something. So I think learn to give yourself forgiveness. And if part of this is that if you're kind of like almost an ugly duckling who became a swan, which is another energy for this, which is why you may kind of be uncomfortable with it, forgive that past because you're now who you are and you've grown into who you are. Okay, so then let's have a look at some astrology. That helps. Mars and Jupiter. Yeah, take action towards expansion, towards making this something. Like I do think you're meant to be very well off, actually. I mean, whether quite at Jeff Bezos's level, I suppose we don't have to be at that to be well off, but I do think you're supposed to start to expand your horizons with this and act in that way. And Sun, Mercury, communicate in that way as well too. Communicate your life path, communicate who you are. You are your communication. It's saying it. Like your energy is very powerful in that way. Okay, so to finish off, we're just going to get you a kind of a spiritual synthesizing message. I'm going to ask you to pick a number between 1 and 5. Pause if you need to because I'm about to deal them out, and that will just give you a final message to bring it together depending upon which number you choose. So if you chose number 1, we have wisdom is earned, and that connects to that, I think. If you chose number 2, hidden influences at play, yeah, that connects to that. Number 3, it's all energy and expression. Number 4, extend an olive branch, forgiveness. Oh, that's interesting. It's interesting where these are falling, actually. If number 5, brainstorm. Okay, so if you chose number 1, then there is something like you have the natural ability, the natural charisma, the natural style, all those things to really be a trendsetter just in your own self-expression. But there is something about learning from others. Look at who your icons are. Look at who you would have followed. Pay attention to that. You'll get wiser and wiser about how to work with this. If you chose number 2, it's connected back to this. There's some big shift going on in the liminal. I think that if you have been wanting to kind of hide behind the scenes, you're not going to be able to for much longer. So it's good at this point to start to think about how you can help others or how you can make this feel spiritually resonant to you, because it can be. It's actually it's almost an inverse snobbery if you feel that, like self-expression and like fashion, all that is somehow not spiritual. It actually can be very much that. And some big things are about to happen for you. If you chose number 3, it's saying it is all energy and expression. Like you embody that a lot and you give off an enormous amount of energy and trend setting and all of that kind of thing with your self-expression. But, we are all that. like just that you stand out more than the average doesn't mean that other people aren't doing it as well, and see it in that way. If you chose number 4, extend an olive branch, there might be someone who hurt you before with this, and that's why you kind of like step back. And it may be that if you're stepping forward and owning your self-expression, part of it may be to forgive that energy from the past. And if you chose number 5, brainstorm, there's something you can do, like kind of like start to really work out what the options are here, because you've been limiting yourself more than you should. So I hope that resonates for you. I hope you enjoyed the reading. If so, please like the video and subscribe. If you care to share in the comments, I'd love to hear. Otherwise, I hope to see you in future readings. Welcome pile 3 to your reading. So you came to the Empress card from Tarot on Canvas. Now, something I didn't mention in the introduction quite deliberately, because I wanted to talk about it at this stage of the reading, is that there was a lot of thought given to the tarot decks to use for this, because each represent a different sort of way or different expression of trend setting that might apply. So if you had gone to pile number 1 with Instatarot, it would have been in communication, possibly social media, all the sort of things that are very quick, air-oriented, that kind of thing. If you had gone to pile 2 with the Runway Tarot, it's all about self-expression, fashion, makeup, beauty, any of those sorts of things. And then if you did come to this one, so this one is all about creativity. This is Tarot on Canvas, so it has within it great paintings and works of art that are reimagined in the Major Arcana and so forth. So the concept here is this is a kind of creative trend setting. Now that can be classically creative, like painting, singing, writing, doing any of those things, or it could be creative in some other way, creating a computer game of some sort, creating a new strategic vision for an organization. But the concept is creative. And as it happens with the cards that have come out with it to describe it, another thing, particularly with the Empress being the card that you came with, and then the 6 of Cups here, for some it may be creative in children. And so the children that you have, if you have children, or children that you might work with, or inspiring children to learn and create within themselves. So there's a nurturing role potentially with this as well too, because of the nature of the Major Arcana card that was designated by Spirit when I shuffled, and then the first Major Arcana card that came out was going to be the one, and so that's the Empress. So this tells me whatever this is, it is highly creative, like it's doubling up on creative. We had the creative deck, and then we have, probably the most creative of all the Major Arcana cards. But as I say, also nurturing, divine feminine energy could be part of where you set trends creatively in the world and so forth, all of that kind of thing as well. These other cards are supposed to give us a little bit of idea about the energy around it. As I say, with the 6 of Cups, it could literally be that with some of you, you set trends in education, in child raising. Your children may be very trend setting and very different and very much of the future. If you have children, you could do things in nurturing areas, and you create stuff that really helps with that, create educational products, any of those sort of things. It can also be that you create from your sort of family roots and your childhood. So you have a creative energy, and where you will set trends most is when you bring that to life. And that may be the thing at the moment with the Queen of Cups reversed and the 2 of Pentacles reversed. It looks to me like for most of you, you haven't enacted it yet. There is sort of like a real potential here, and some sort of creative potential in whatever way it plays out. And it is very close to your emotional center, but you're almost protecting your emotional center. And as such, you haven't made the choice to bring something into being. So the message around this is that you may trend set around other things that you do. So you may be sort of someone who, if you were, a painter, you might paint certain sort of pictures or whatever, and then others would do a similar thing. That would be the trend for a while. But I don't feel the thing that is closest to your heart you've done yet. So I think this is an invitation to think about doing that. And it's a very long-held one, or something that you very much want to nurture. So the big trend, the big way that you would be a trendsetter is to bring that into being, is to go to the core of what matters the most and make the decision to commit to doing it. So we're going to ask the tarot a bit more about this creative trend setting. Then we're going to ask the impact that your creative trend setting has on others and the impact others have on your creative trend setting. And then we're going to ask for some advice. So firstly, a little bit more about this I think, really core to your being creative option that you have yet to bring forward that would really be trend setting, really future oriented. The Hermit, the Seven of Cups, the Hierophant reversed, Strength, the Emperor reversed, the Ace of Cups. Now this is interesting because you've got the Emperor reversed and the Ace, Emperor reversed and the Empress, and then we have the Ace of Cups. For some of you, okay, this is very specific. It's not going to be everybody, but I was going to say it. For some of you, there is an unconventional relationship in one form or another. It may be just unconventional because you maybe will have children but decide not to marry or something like that. It may be unconventional because it's same sex, non-binary in some way, but for some there is an unconventional connection that is really going to open this up and bring strength to what can be created. So it's created with another person as well. I think you're the primary creative energy on it, but nevertheless it requires someone else that I don't think you've met yet, or you haven't made the sort of commitment that would make it happen yet. This makes me feel in this case like you're alone, but you're meant to meet someone and it's unconventional in some way. But it brings all the options. It allows this to come into being. So for some of you, this is actually a prediction of a great love, but one that is not what others would have thought. So this might be sort of like, well, do I do this? Do I allow my heart to go in that direction? But it looks like it would be a good idea if you did. For others, if it's not about that, then this is about the divine feminine in some way, because that's the other reason the Emperor could be reversed. Bringing the heart back to something creative, something that helps women in some way, allows for like unconventional sort of approaches, unconventional, like different ways that women can rise and be seen in sort of industries and in ways that are different, opening up options, stopping them from being sort of hidden away, and or children, like, you know, different kinds of education around different forms of like their strengths as opposed to just fitting in with something that's more conventional, bringing the heart back to it, bringing options, all of that kind of thing, a spirituality. There's something that's very different though. Whatever this is, your creative thing is very different. It's unconventional. It would break boundaries around the industry. So I think for some of you, if this is your creativity, you're actually very, very successful or very good at creativity. And you already do set some trends and people do follow you. But there's a bigger thing. But to do that, you've got to push against the norm in some way and really like find your strength to do it. So I think it's inviting you to resurrect that really early dream and work out how that you're strong enough now creatively and strategically in whatever way this is working to make that happen. So let's see the impact of your creative trend setting on others and their impact on you as a result of it. 10 of Swords, 2 of Cups reversed, 3 of Swords. Wow. Page of Wands reversed. 4 of Wands. Okay. This definitely makes me feel as though the next phase for you, and this might be again the Empress giving birth to something new, is separating from the old and the conventional. Because this is the impact on others. And I feel like for some it's kind of like, it's like they can't connect with you anymore, like the industry can't see it, or like an old way of creating and doing things is no longer viable. And for some, they just have to separate out because they can't deal with it. It's kind of makes me feel like, you know, when we used to have VHS and then we got CDs and DVDs, and now both of them are gone because of streaming. Like there are definite sort of like shifts in creativity and technology or whatever, and it really is the kind of end of one thing and the separation out. So there's separation from past successes and past alliances, I think, would happen with you doing this. But for you, that like allows you to really uncover what your creativity is and find your true people. So there's a shift energy operating here. It is inviting you to leave something behind, to go towards something that's more true to you. But it's something that you had very strongly in the beginning. And if it is about love and starting a new kind of family, you definitely can do that. But it's not until you separate out from the old sort of energy, the old industry you're in, the old sort of ways of being in love or whatever. So, and there is a possibility with both of those that it's about that. But I think for most of you, because of the nature of this topic, it's more around doing something genuinely new, creatively or strategically, and just having the courage to go forth and do it. So what advice is there for you, pile 3? Three of Cups reversed, the Star, 10 of Pentacles reversed, 4 of Cups. Okay, so it is saying that when you are shifting, when you really are going to set a new creative trend, new strategic trend, whatever this is, and I think for most of you that's what this is about, don't expect it to be celebrated instantly. You're going to have to keep your eye on the prize for a while. It may not even be able to be fully born or seen in the world or make money or anything for a while. You've got to kind of work through the blocks of what people are used to. So your trend setting is revolutionary, and it pushes the envelope. And at first the responses may not be open to this. They may find it too much. It will eventually shine. It will eventually, what makes you different will eventually be the thing that makes you successful. But there's a period of time that you're just going to have to go through that. If it's around an unconventional love match or whatever, your family may not like it. They may not be happy, but stay true to what you want. What other people want to celebrate or not is not true to what you want. And if it's around kind of like nurturing your children in some way, again, very different to your family. They're not going to be happy. Don't worry about that. You're on the right path. So it's an interesting sort of energy around trend setting. It feels very personal. If it's personal, like it's like the type of love you have or the way you bring up your children. Otherwise, it feels like you are really breaking boundaries and barriers and really different in what you do creatively. So one of the things I wanted to do was so that one got a taste of all of the kind of things, because this is a creative one. And as I say, there's the sort of social influencer, that kind of one. And then there's also the fashion one, is to get an icon from each of them. So we'll start with the creative icon using the musical oracles for you because you came to pile 3. So a musical oracle that could be, or a musical icon that could be analogous to your kind of creative trend setting, pile 3. Wow, Dolly Parton. Okay, so big and bold, very feminine, like very feminine. She says the higher the heels, the closer to heaven. I like that. She says caution will get you nowhere. And that's right. You're just going to have to go for it. And she says the most precious diamonds are sometimes disguised as rhinestones. So yeah, like others may not understand what you're doing at first. And you may have to be very incautious to get somewhere, but you've got to aim high. That's what she would say to you. So then let's see with the fashion world. If you'd gone to the runway tarot, like what's the fashion icon that's similar to your trend setting here? Victoria Beckham. Okay, so sort of like the former Spice Girl, the sort of like model-esque one and so forth. Step into your own spotlight. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. You don't have to be posh to have style. So it's whatever your style is the right style for this. And give it a go. There's no red card in fashion. So yeah, like go for it. Like there's something new, something very unconventional. But that's going to be your strength. And then speaking of that, the way you communicate it, the social influence, the success energy, an icon in the kind of success world for you is Indra Nui. So she's obviously connected to soft drinks. I don't really know who she is, but it's obvious from the way that she's portrayed. The customer is always right, especially when hungry. So it might be sort of understanding. I think that's more for understanding when people don't get the shift rather than not doing it, but understanding that. She says baked chips feed blue chips. So it might be saying one of the ways to actually do this is to do a lot of what is conventional and what kind of pays the bills while you develop the new thing. And she says, never sugarcoat a need for change. Yes, when it's ready, when you need to sort of like express this, express it. Okay, let's see a couple of spiritual energies as well for you. Ascension. Okay, yeah, you're meant to go higher. You're meant to go higher with this. The only way is up. It's basic. But it can feel hard to do that. And others may not be ready to follow you, but that shouldn't mean you stop. And portal, yeah, because like you starting to, and that's interesting too, because, you know, like in terms of creative energy, you know, some people say spiritually that the female body is a portal to bring new life in. So see yourself and your creative expression as the portal, as the thing that's meant to bring something new in, or you to a new place, a new timeline, all of that kind of thing. Okay, let's get you some astrology to turbocharge you as well. Pile 3. Sun and Neptune. Yeah, you are a creative person innately. Very psychic, very spiritual. But you need to sort of like get into what is the ideal for you. Your life path won't be fully satisfied until you do that. And Venus and Jupiter, yeah, the feminine energy, the creative feminine energy is where you will expand. It's where you will have fortune. It's where the benefic energy comes in. So there's something in that. And for some of you, this may be having exceptionally gifted children and having different ways of bringing them up and creating something very unconventional but future focused. It could be that for some of you. But otherwise, I think that your life path is meant to be idealistic and beautiful, and that's how you're meant to expand. Okay, so to finish off, we're just going to get a last piece of spiritual advice from the Boho Spirit Oracle. So I'm going to ask you to choose a number between 1 and 5. Pause if you need to, because depending upon which number you get, it's your parting message, and we'll go through them one by one. So pause if you need to now, because I'm about to deal them out. So number 1, step into your magic. Number 2, ferocious focus. Number 3, I'm on fire. Number 4, I got you, boo. And number 5, share your magical gifts. Okay, so if you chose number 1, this is about you finding what is different. It is something magical about this. It's not just a new creative idea. That core thing that matters the most has got to do with your own personal magic, and you will have the ability to bring it in. If you chose number 2, focus is what you need, and ferocious focus. You need to be, this is what I really want to do. Of all of them, actually 2 and 3, there's not as much time to sort of faff around doing other stuff. Like you can do maybe a bit to pay the bills or whatever, but there's an urgency here. Focus. Similarly for number 3, I'm on fire. Like at the moment, the creative energy and the drive is at a peak, and it's important to grab the opportunity while you can. If you chose number 4, I got you, boo. I think, you've got great friends. It could be pointing to the people who there is a relationship core to this, and that someone else is going to have your back. But it definitely suggests to me that spirit at the very least has your back. And if you chose number 5, share your magical gifts, there's something here about how you nurture and you spread this out to future generations or out to an industry or something like that. So you're meant to do something with that and share it. So I hope that this resonates for you. I hope you enjoyed the reading. If so, please like the video and subscribe. If you care to share in the comments, I'd love to hear. Otherwise, I hope to see you in future readings.